Good morning and welcome to an Easter project. Today we are going to be making these cute little mini bags that are perfect for Easter or really anything. These would be cute for party favors, organization. Could put your little sewing clips and stuff in there, birthday gifts, whatever. But since Easter's coming, I got my ears on and we're going to pretend these are going to be Easter baskets. And I'm going to show you how to make them out of 5-inch pre-cuts. So if you have extra ones of these hanging around, this is going to help you sew your stash. Or you can, of course, use your fabric scraps, cut them into 5-inch squares, and you will be in the same place as anyone with pre-cuts. So before I get started, I can see the chat. It's a little bit delayed. So if you write something and it takes me a minute to respond to it, either I'm sewing because I can't see it when I'm at my sewing machine, or it's just a little bit of a delay. But I do constantly check while I am working on these live events. I'm so excited you guys are here today. These always give me a lot of energy. I love sharing projects. I love talking to other people who love to do what I do, which is sew and quilt. If you are new here, my name is Tara Reed. I am an artist and a fabric designer with Riley Blake Designs. So behind me, this is one of my new collections. This is called Covered Bridges in Spring. It is the first in a series of 3. We have fall coming out in July, and I am just finishing up winter. So that is going to be very fun. Hi, Jennifer and Doreen. Let's see. D in Kentucky. We got people everywhere. And I am from Portland, Oregon. It is a beautiful allergy-filled day. So if I sound a little raspy, that is why. All the medication in the world is not helping me get through this without a little nasal action going on. So before we get started, I have a couple little things. One, if you could let me know in the chat what your sewing experience is. Like, are you new to sewing? Have you been sewing for 30 years? What do you love to sew? I would love to get to know a little bit more about who is joining me on these lives so I have an idea of different projects to come up with. I try and do a YouTube live at least once a month. Sometimes I just jump on here if I'm doing something and I have cameras ready enough. Oh, Brenda in Canada, hello. So yeah, if you could let me know that, that would be great. And let me switch cameras. I gotta be an artist, a sewist, direction writer, quilt pattern writer, and very high tech. I have 3 cameras and this funny little switcher that I'm working with. Okay, so now, hold on. Okay. Sorry, there's more of a delay this morning than normal. So before I get started, I wanted to show you a little bit more about this. As I said, I am an artist and I designed for Riley Blake. And so I just wanted to show you one of my original watercolors. So I paint everything. I think I've done maybe 1 or 2 collections that aren't fully hand painted. This is not one of them. This is fully painted. So I just wanted to show you like the original watercolor that I painted that I then put into Photoshop and it turned into this. And this is one of the squares from the quilt that you saw when I first jumped on that was behind me. Anyway, sometimes people are interested in how that works, but I do the little paintings, then I put them into Photoshop and I mix them all together. So this covered bridge will be having fall foliage behind it, and then it's going to be snow covered for winter. I will get that out of the way. Okay. Let's see. I just want to peek at comments before we start. All right. Misty's been sewing for about 3 years. Jacqueline, a few years. Placemats, table runners, tote bags. Thank you, Dee. Glad you like that. Oh, wow. Hello from Brazil. We are going international today. I love it. Okay, so first, let's talk about the supplies that you need for this bag. And then I'm going to talk about some of the different things I tried and decisions that I made for this tutorial. So when I make bags that are usually bigger than this, I always line them, right? So I'll put like fusible fleece or interfacing or something to give them some stability, which I did in this one. And then when I looked at it and after I sewed it together, I was like, is that really necessary? I'm not sure. So for this one, I didn't do it. And honestly, there's very little difference. They both stand really well. This one's a little bit, I guess, got a little bit more form to it. But I decided for a tiny bag like this, it is not worth the time or effort. Save your supplies for other things. Oh yes, Doreen, I'm all about instant gratification projects. I will do a quilt as well, but I like doing things that are quick and fast, and I like sewing little gifts. I like playing with fabric scraps. I like teaching people how to use their fabric scraps. And, honestly, I know we're all thinking about fabric scraps this week with tariffs, and we don't know what's going to happen with the price of fabric and all of that good stuff. So hopefully that'll all get a little more resolved next week, not to get political, but I know it is on everyone's mind. So for this project, if you want to, you can add fleece or interfacing, but I'm going to show you how to do it without. You're going to use 5-inch squares. So 2 for the outside. We're going to do this for the outside. 2 for the inside. And this is like a toile. It's just the line art of all the covered bridges. And then 1 for the handles. And I'm going to be making fabric handles. Now, handles, you can make other choices. This is the first one that I did, which is a little bit bigger. And then I thought, you know what? No, I want to come up with a project for people to use their pre-cuts. So this one I used ribbon, which is fine, but if you see it like flops. So fabric handles will stay up. So if you use these like on a table, I think these would be so cute. If you have a bunch of people coming over for Easter, you can make them each a little basket and have, I don't know, you can put their name in it, put little gifts, whatever. This is going to stand up better than something bigger or anything with ribbon. But again, I like to show you options and how they work. Today, we're going to do a basket like this, where it's just going to be a single fabric on the outside, a single on the inside, and then 1 for the handles. You can obviously do something like this, which has the 2 different fabrics. You can add all kinds of embellishments. And I'll just talk you through that real quick. So basically, you can take any fabrics you want as long as you make a 5-inch square. So this piece is the same size as this. It just has 2 fabrics and it has ribbon. Now, a note about ribbon. When I made this one, I just laid the ribbon on top of the fabric and then I sewed it on each side. But see how it's a little warbly? That's my technical term. It's not nice and flat. And that's because I didn't pin it either. I didn't attach it in any way. For this one, I took a little extra step and I used this product called Easy Steam 2 from Pellon, and I'm sure there's other brands that do this too, but it is just a really skinny 2-sided fusible tape. So I wouldn't have even had to sew this, but I did. So I put this under the ribbon and then put it on here, and I pressed it. So it really held it in place, and you can see it's a much flatter finish. Get to the back of this. Then this one. I hope you can see that. Can you see that? See how it's just kind of a little wavy, and that one's much flatter. Now, if you don't have something like this, because I'm a big fan of use what you got, especially since I, like probably many of you, like to do projects at 11 at night when I can't run out and get anything, you could do the same thing with glue. If you get Elmer's washable glue, just put a little line under there, very little, because it might show through ribbon, because ribbon's really thin. Press it with a dry iron to dry the glue and then sew. So that's another way to accomplish that. Okay. Then you're going to need either clips or pins. These are just some different ideas of embellishments you could use. A ruler, iron. I'm going to turn my iron on. Ironing station. I'm going to use a quilter's clapper. I'll tell you about it if you haven't watched these before. Oh, hold on. Oh, geez Louise, don't do this. My computer was going to sleep, and this happened last time too. Every time I would click to wake it up, and it would think I wanted to cancel and hang up on you all, which I don't. I don't want to hang up. We haven't even started. All right, so let's move this and let's get started. So as I mentioned in the beginning, shoot. I just dropped fabric, nothing to worry about. As I mentioned in the beginning, I did this a couple times, and I decided not to use fleece or interfacing, but I decided to use starch, and it's just faster. I always keep starch on hand, and it's going to give the bag enough body that it's not going to be super floppy, especially for this really small size. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to starch all of these fabrics. Now, let me know in the comments if you're a starcher or not. Do you have experience with starch? Do you have a favorite brand? You can also use a stabilizer. This I get at Walmart. It's like, I think like $5 or $6. You're just going to spray with Wild Abandon, get it nice and moist, let it sit for a minute so that it soaks into the fibers. Now you'll also notice that I have a piece of fabric on here. This is a wool pressing mat under here. It helps push the heat back up, so you're kind of heating both sides. But whenever I starch, whether I'm using the mat or my ironing board, I always put another piece of fabric down. I call it my starching fabric, because you're going to get starch everywhere, not just on the fabric that you're starching. And I don't like that to stay on my wool mat and gum it up over time, and I don't like it to stay on my ironing board. So if you use an extra piece of fabric, you can then just take that, throw it in the wash, and that starch will wash out. So now I'm just running over that with a dry iron. And now let me show you how different that is. So see how they sit in my hand? This one's not starched, and this one is starched. So it makes it a little bit more paper-like. You can also see the color change as it dries. So it's darker when it is wet, and it'll lighten up when that starch dries. Now, as I do this, a couple things about starch alternatives. Another very popular one is Best Press, and lavender seems to be the easiest to find most places, but they have lots of different scents for their product. And I'm not even gonna be able to see this because I use the same fabric. And theirs is a starch alternative. And I met someone that worked for the company when I was at Quilt Market in October, and she was explaining that to me, and she's like, well, you know, starch, it's a vegetable product, so it's made with food, basically. So if you live in an area where there are bugs, like silverfish, I think somebody told me. Hi, Helen. She wasn't sure she was going to make it today because she has a bunch of little chickies, so glad you made it. Anyway, sorry, back to the fish. Silverfish, bugs. They will apparently eat the starch and maybe mess up your project if you use something like this and then just leave it. So that's where a product that is like a stabilizer or a starch alternative that basically isn't made out of food, it could be better. I sometimes still will use this like for quilting and things, and then if I think bugs are going to get it and I'm just going to store it for a while, I will wash it before I put it aside, because that will get the starch out of it and we'll be good to go. Another big difference, which is going to be very personal preference and allergy and sensitivity related, is the smell of these different products. So my general rule of thumb is the cheaper the product, the more chemically it smells. So this definitely has, I kind of like the smell, but not if I'm using it a ton. This definitely has a little bit more of a chemical smell than some of the alternatives. So like the Best Press, they have more of a essential oil smell, or, you know, a room freshener smell. Okay, so we're all starched. We've talked all about starch. Let's see, we take a little peek. Oh, you've done the carrot and bunny bags. Awesome. All right, yeah, you're going to have all kinds of cute bags. So what we're going to do first is we are going to make the handles. We're going to make 2 handles out of 1 square. Get my little sample. And we're basically going to cut 1 inch off, and we're going to cut 2 5-inch by 2-inch pieces of fabric. Where did my ruler go? Now the direction if this is a directional fabric, a lot of my fabric is directional, so I always talk about that. You can decide which way you want your design to go. It's going to fold up pretty skinny, as you can see. But you can have it this way, so like the flowers are going looped like this, or if you cut it this way, your flowers are going to be this way. I think either way is going to work, but I'm going to do them so it goes this way. So I'm just going to put this down on my mat. Cut 1 inch off. And then I'm going to cut this one into 2 2-inch strips. Now, one thing that I just like to warn people, when you're cutting with a ruler, and some people have never had this problem, I will say that before, always put your hand flat and then put like your pinky or even your ring finger against the edge of the ruler, because that is going to help it not twist as you push. Because if you push and kind of put an angle on what you're doing, I shouldn't do that with it squeezed. Sorry about that. You could end up moving it. But another reason that it's really important to have your hand flat is so you do not mess up your thumb. I had a friend that warned me about this, and nope, I did not listen, and I kept doing this, like doing my hand at it, like my fingers poked up and pressing down like this, and I cut a bunch of stuff. I made a pretty big quilt, and I messed up this tendon. It took 6 months. I had to wear a brace to bed. I couldn't like lean down. It was awful. So flat hand, way better for your thumb if you have any issues with that. All right, now back to work. So these we are going to, oh, sorry, it's hard to see. Let me get rid of this. I just pinned it on here. Because not much fun watching something when you can't see what I'm doing, right? All right, so much better. So this is, we're going to be folding it in half, folding the raw edges in, and then folding it in half again. This is a technique that is used for so many things. This is how you make key fobs. This is how you make like straps for bags, things like that. And then when it is so small, I usually just fold both of them in at the same time instead of folding, pressing, and then I even cheat and I go like that. Because usually for something 5 inches long, you can get it set up the way you want it to, and it just saves a minute or two. Then I'm going to hit it with my clapper, which does 2 things. It absorbs the heat, and it also, so that this isn't going to be hot to the touch. And it also helps get these creases even more creased. Why am I picking up my iron? Oh, off my wool mat? Yeah, I know I need to keep it on there. I like how y'all watch out for me, so I don't like set anything on fire, burn my workstation, anything like that. So this is how you make both of the straps. And then, which I made, hold on, where did I put them? Trying to save a little bit of time here. And then you're just going to sew down the one side. So you have to sew this side where it comes together, just to keep it together. Then you can decide if you want to sew down the other side as well, which is just going to be for the look of it. You can do it or not do it. Let me see, okay, I did it on this one. Can you see I stitched on both sides? And then on this one, I only stitched on one side. So it's a little bit of a different look. Takes, I don't know, maybe a minute or 2 longer, totally up to you. If you're making 20 of them, I'd probably just do one. If you're just making a few and you want it to be a little fancier, I would sew on both sides. Okay. So we're going to pretend that I sewed those because I think you know, you get the idea. And now we are going to move on to getting our bags together. And there are a few ways to do this as well, but I've decided this is the way I like to do it, and this is the way I'm going to teach you how to do it. So we have our outside and our inside, and if they were both directional fabrics, pretend we do this, you want to make sure the top is always in the center. So if you do it this way, the inside or the outside is going to be upside down after you do your bag. Does that make sense? Now we're going to take our handle, trim that little thread off there. Whoa. And we are going to fold it, get 2 clips ready. And I'm going to place it 1.5 inches in from the edge. And we're pinning this to the top of the outside. So 1.5 inches. All right, I need to cough. I'm going to turn off my mic, so hopefully you're not going to hear this. All right, hopefully you did not hear me cough, but now you can hear me talk. So we have that pinned or clipped. Now you can baste that on there if you want to, but I'm just going to shorten life, and I'm just going to put this on top. So we're going right sides together with the inside, match the outer edge, and do more clips. Then I'm just going to hold where the handle is, so that I can move that clip so that it has all 3 pieces, both sides and the handle. Hold on, I messed that up. How did I mess that up? Are these 2 fabrics not the same size? Oh, for Pete's sake, hold on. Look at that. It's a little bit skinny. Okay, works better that way, so we start over. 1.5. Just try and do this quick. All right, so while I'm pinning, I want to tell you something else. See if I can talk and clip at the same time. So if you've been on here before, you know about this, but I'm going to tell you about it again and tell you about a special deal I'm doing. So for almost a year, I have been working on a membership site called Sew with Tara Reid, where you can get all of these tutorials, some exclusive content. I'm putting everything from my Etsy shop in there. A lot of different video tutorials with 0 ads. Like, you don't have to sort through all the ads and videos that pop up if you try and do something from a blog. You don't have to see ads from YouTube. And I know right now, as I said, wait, let me make sure I've got this. Okay. We're all a little concerned about money, or many of us are. And I want to make this, but also our mental health is really important. And sewing is really good for your mental health. I don't know if I've ever told you, but I have lost both of my parents to Alzheimer's and dementia. It's awful. If you've ever had to deal with that, I'm very, very sorry. If you are dealing with it, I actually wrote a book about how to deal with it. So let me know if you want the link for that. Anyway, I read an article lately that there's a study that says people who do crafts and sewing and things like this are 45% less likely to get dementia as they age, because you're really engaging your brain, you're doing math. It's very good stress reliever because it's very repetitive. Have you ever had a bad day and you just sit down at your sewing machine and it's just, you can just get everything else to melt away? So that's awesome. So I really want to make the membership easy and affordable so that you come in there and have fun with me. So normally an annual membership is $250, and you also get $40 worth of free fabric. Hold on, I'm going to switch cameras. I'll talk to you for a second. So if you join for a year, you get a year access. You don't have to think about it every month. You also get $40 worth of free fabric, and you get to choose. I've got a bunch of different things on the website for you to choose from. So it's not like you're just going to get something that you're not going to want. But what I'm doing is I'm offering a $50 off. So you can join for the year for $200, and then you get that $40 value worth of fabric. And the link is under this live video. So if you're on YouTube, you can see the link, and the code is annual50. So you can save $50. Then I decided I wanted to make it even better. So I did a class one time where the teacher said, okay, if you and a friend join, I'm going to give you more. So if you and a friend join, because it's always fun to, even if you live on opposite sides of the country, to like be working on the same project and talk about stuff and like, hey, I've tried this, I've tried that. If you and a friend join, email me like, hey, my friend also joined, and I will send both of you double fabric. So you'll get $80 worth of fabric with your $200 yearly membership. So I hope that is something that you will consider. We have a lot of fun in there. Again, no ads, lots of projects, some exclusive content. I listen to my members, like, what do you want me to work on? What do you want me to show you how to do? Lots of different things. You can click the link, read more about it. Now we're going to go back to sewing. I'm going to send you to camera 3, my sewing machine. Okay. I think. Nope, I didn't. Okay, I did. That delay is really messing with me today. So other things that I've talked about before a lot are lifting your bobbin thread, right? So that helps you not have big old knots. But there's a time where you don't have to, and that time is now. So if you're starting off of your project, just take a piece of scrap fabric. That's what this is. You can see it's got all kinds of weird stitches in there, and butt it up against this fabric. Put your foot down. We're sewing with a 1/4 inch seam across here. But you'll see that when I put my needle down, it's going to start back here. And I'm not even going to worry about lifting the bobbin thread, because if it knots, it's going to knot back here. So it's just like daisy chaining, but you're starting from a scrap fabric. So you're just going to move forward, then knot that. And you'll see it sticks, and then we just cut that off. So it's another little time saver. I'm all about saving time and effort when I can. Oh, I didn't have my walking foot was like down and pulling. Okay, here we go. And then I don't need that piece of fabric for this one, because my first half is going to act the same way. All right, so I feel like all I'm doing is talking. I need you guys talking to me more. Oh, somebody's talking to me. Let's see. Oh, Dawn's been sewing for 20 years. Okay. And has never done a big quilt. Ah, you are my people. You are my people, Dawn. Okay, I think the biggest ones I've done are lap quilts. I haven't done like a bed quilt. That's just too overwhelming for me. So now we have both of these sewn together. Move that over so it's more centered. Now I'm going to press. First, I'm going to set the seam. If you're not familiar with that, it basically means to press over the stitching before you turn or move any of the fabric. And I just do that. It gets any little wobbles or air bubbles or whatever out of there. And then I'm going to push the lining forward so that the seam is going to go towards the lining. Oops, almost forgot. Set that one. All right. So now we have the front and the back. And as I said, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could do it where you sewed the front together, sewed the back together, put one inside the other. But for this size, I feel like this is a lot easier to do. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make our boxed bottoms so that they sit up nicely. And we're going to do that with a 1-inch cut out of the corners. Box bottoms, there's 2 ways to do them. We could just sew this together and then fold it and sew across, but especially for this small, I think cutting out those corners is much, much easier. So I'm going to put these right sides together. Take my ruler, put the 1-inch, let me try and zoom in here a little bit more. Okay, put the 1-inch square from the edge of my ruler in that corner. Pen. And you can clip this together first. I just find it a little bit easier to just cut these corners first and then make sure I get everything lined up perfectly. All right. And now that I said that, I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to clip. I'm going to clip together first. So making sure these 2 seams line up. At least clip that. So we want that lined up on both sides. All right, so what is your favorite way of doing box bottoms? Do you like doing this square method? Have you done this square method before? Or do you prefer to just sew straight and then have to deal with straightening it out and sewing later? It's kind of, you do more work one time or the other. You still have to do the work to get this box bottom to work. Now this one, because you have the handles, you have to be a little bit more careful, kind of mash that down. Oh, yay, Anne. You should have been prompted to give me your address and also tell me, Anne just joined my annual, thank you. And also tell me which fabric you want, and then I'm going to mail it to you. And I will mail it for free in the US, Canada, and the UK. If you live somewhere else, talk to me first so we can see how much shipping would be to another country. And then I can decide if I can cover that whole thing or if maybe we split it. But I want to make sure it's a great value for everybody. Okay. Now, if you like doing little projects, you can always keep these little 1-inch squares and use them for something else. Let me get this clip together. Yes, I agree with you, Helen. Although I think I've decided this is my favorite way to do box bottoms. So she was saying it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Now, I'm going to just make a little mark so I don't forget. We're going to leave a few inches open on the side of the lining. Now we're going to sew this little spot all the way across here, all the way here, here, and here. So let's go back to my sewing machine. Misty, you can upgrade to an annual membership. You can either just do it or email me and I will help you out and we will get that figured out. Okay, sewing machine. So I was on Instagram the other day and somebody was showing this technique, right? To use just a piece of scrap fabric. Don't worry about lifting the bobbin thread if you're coming off of an edge. And she called it a pig. Like she called this fabric a pig. Is that a thing? I had never heard that before. Let me know if you've heard that. Like, is that her thing? Is that a sewing thing I just don't know about? Like, some little secret nobody taught me. That was pretty funny. And then I think she told people, you know, comment pig and I'll send you, I don't know. I don't know if it was a guide about how to use the pig or what. But I know a bit, but I don't know everything. And while I sew, why don't you guys tell me what your plans are? Are you Easter people? First off, I mean, you might not be. Maybe you're going to make these for Passover. We celebrate both in my house, so I try and be very attuned to that and not assume that everybody does Christmas and Easter. But whatever you're going to make these for, what are you thinking? Are you going to make them for kids? Whoops, I forgot my pig. See, now I'm going to call it a pig too. Are you going to make it for like neighbors, for grandkids, for a school event, for your table? I'm going to an Easter brunch at my brother's, and I haven't decided if I'm going to offer to do this because a lot of my sister-in-law's family is coming, and I'm not sure the definition of a lot. I don't know if we're talking like 6 people are coming up from California or 15 people are coming up from California. So I got to find that out before I go offering my creative services. Would be nice of me though, wouldn't it? Now, when you get to a part where you're going to be sewing over a seam that is pressed towards the needle, you don't want it to get caught and bend like that because then the top of your bag isn't going to be good. So just use something, not your finger. Use I always use scissors because I always have them here anyway, or you could use a stiletto, anything else, just to keep that held down until the foot goes over top of it. Just try not to sew your finger. I can't remember who it was. I think it was in my member live. I do a live with my members every month too, and I think it was in there, or it might have been in the YouTube live last month, but somebody told me that they sewed their finger and the ER doctor was very impressed that they drove themselves to the hospital with the needle still through their finger. And I just keep picturing like, okay, so she had to unscrew, oh my gosh, can't even imagine. Not fun. Okay, I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to show you how we're going to do these box bottoms. A pig. Yeah, okay, Misty, me too. I always called that fabric thing a leader or an ender, so maybe it's like her fun way of calling it that. All right, so now we are going to take these pieces and we are going to make our boxed corners. So what you do is you pull out both sides. So you're taking that square and you're taking this part and that's going to become the ends. See how that went straight? Now you also need to decide what to do with these seams. I like to do them opposite directions so it's not really bulky. So I'm going to put a little clip on there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch across. This is why, you know, we did the work in the beginning. This part's going to be nice and easy. Now, it's important to note which direction you did your seams, because just like I showed you at the sewing machine, you don't really want your seams to be in opposite directions when you sew this together. So because this seam went that way, this one is going to go that way as well on this other side. So it doesn't matter which direction you pick on the first corner, but then you want to try and be consistent so that there's no flipping of seams on your bag. Although if it happens, it happens. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. Now this time I'm going to be looking at which direction the seam should go on that side. So that's going to also go to my right. If I ever say right and left and say the wrong thing, it's a brain problem of mine. I got it from my dad. Anybody else not know the right from left without thinking about it? I'm just amazed that it's so instinctual to most people. They don't have to think about it. All right, get these box clipped. Okay, so they are both clipped. And I'm going to show you really quick. Uh-oh. So here's how I know left from right. L. My left hand, if I put it down or put it on my, you know how they do, oh, loser. If you put your hands down on your lap, I do this when I give directions. My husband laughs at me. I still mess it up sometimes. But yeah, if you look, the one that makes an L, that's your left. That's how I live my life. But if that's one of my bigger problems, it's okay. Hold on, I gotta wake up my, come on. Okay. All right, to make sure I didn't hang up on you. All right, so we're going to use our leader. Now, when you put it down, just make sure everything's straight and it isn't angled, which, again, for this size, if it's slightly off, it's not going to be a huge deal. It's such a little project, but this is the same technique that you would use for larger bags, so it's just good to get in the habit of doing it correctly. I got that straightened out. Use my scissors, and we're just going to get these 4 sewn up. Now, often for larger bags as well, I mean, that you can use the same technique, make any size bag you want. But if you were making something bigger, I would have pressed these seams open, but it's next to impossible to do on this size, and it's really not necessary. So Helen, how many chicks did you deliver? Are you selling these chicks? Are you giving them to people? I'm very intrigued by this. My sister bought a house in Charlotte, North Carolina 2 years ago, and they inherited chickens in a chicken coop, and everybody was shocked. They're like, because my sister does not look like someone who would love chickens or raising chickens, but they do. And her little grandson, he just turned 2. He loves them. He wakes up from a nap. I was just there last month. He wakes up from a nap and his eyes are barely open. He just starts rattling off everything he wants to do. Cluck, cluck, book, ball hoop. That means basketball. He likes to play basketball, but he calls it ball hoop. So funny. Apparently they now have snakes, so I left just in time. All right, we're back to the workstation. We have our 4 corners sewn. You know about my sister's chickens, and now we are going to turn this right side out through the space that we left open. We're getting close. Now, as you turn this right side out, make sure you push your fingers into these corners. Get those turned out, or you can use a turning tool. Now, I don't know if chickens eat snakes, but I know they've had at least 2 snakes with eggs in their bellies, and then they can't get back out of the chicken coop. And I do not like snakes. When my son was little, I couldn't even read the reptile books to him. They give me the shivers and the creeps so bad. Maybe I was killed by a snake in a past life, if that's a thing. Okay, so we have pushed out these corners. Now I'm just going, you have 2 options with this. If you like to hand stitch, you could hand stitch that opening closed, and then your bag would be reversible. I don't want to hand stitch, so I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine real quick and stitch that closed. And this is when we have to pull up the bobbin thread because we aren't starting from an end and we don't want a big old snarl inside our bag. So put the needle down. Whoops, I didn't need to put that up. Pick the needle up, pull up, holding this thread the whole time. That pulls this bobbin thread up. I always keep tweezers by my sewing machine so I can grab that. It stops you from poking your finger constantly with the tip of the needle when you go to grab threads. All right, then we're going to knot. And I always go a few extra stitches before letting go of that, the two threads that I'm holding, just so the bottom doesn't pull it under and foil my efforts to not have a bird's nest on the back. See? No problem. All right. Okay, I gotta make sure I zoomed in. I gotta make sure I'm staying on camera. So now it's all closed up and all we need to do is push the lining into the outside of the bag. And I'm just getting these corners lined up so that the lining ones are at the same spot. And now I'm just going to line up the edges because we want the seam to be right across the top. We don't want the lining sticking out. We don't want anything weird. And you can either go around and press like all the way around, but again, for this little one, I'm just going to go like that. I'm going to fold it down and I'm just, whoops, don't stay with me. I'm just going to press across like that. And then like that. So we have a nice crisp top. Now we can be done. Or you can edge stitch this. So for this one, I stitched all the way around the edge just to make sure it stayed. And on this one, I didn't. I don't know how much of a difference that is really going to make. So again, I would just decide based on the aesthetic that you like and again, how many you're going to make. If you're making 20, if I make these for my brother's house, I'm not stitching along there for everyone. I will just be doing them like this because it's a lot faster. Oh, also on this one, I put a little tag in there. If you want to add a tag, what I did with this one was I just put it in when I sewed the opening shut. Or you can sew it in when you sew the lining. So there are 3 little baskets all ready to go and have a very happy Easter.